Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa,
And I'm Ellen.
and this is the 2024 Our Story podcast where we talk about our experiences as now rising sophomores and being online.
That is so crazy. Our freshman year is almost up. We have like 3 more weeks until the end of the semester, and by the
Yeah,
time we're listening to this podcast or this episode, we'll basically be done with our freshman year.
we're going to be wrapping up the semester in the first year with this episode probably, so gotta make sure it's a memorable one.
Yes. The
So what
pressure is
I
really
know.
really on us today.
But what are we talking about today, Ellen?
Today, we are going to be talking about the wonderful world of STEM classes while online, Alyssa. But yeah, we've talked about this a little bit, or we've mentioned it in little snippets of past episodes. But this semester, Alyssa and I are both taking STEM classes at Keck, and STEM classes that require labs, which is a whole nother thing that we can talk about.
Oh, for those of you who don't know what Keck is or who just aren't a part of the 5C community, Keck is the shared science department between Scripps College, Pitzer College, and Claremont McKenna College. But I believe that in the next few years, Claremont McKenna is planning to opt out. Not completely sure on that. Don't quote me there, but yes.
But Alyssa, what has your experience been in STEM classes in general? Because I know this is your first time.
Yeah, I don't think I will be a STEM major. I mean, you never know what happens in the future, but I'm pretty sure I won't be. So it has been interesting to take a STEM class and have so many of my friends and the people that I know be STEM majors. It's very interesting. But I am taking, or I'm finishing up, I guess, by the time this comes out, Bio 44, which is just like an intro bio class, I think, and it does have a lab. The lab is like 3 hours long, I think, once a week. And I know that you're also taking an additional class. So really quickly, let's go over what class you're taking.
That is a good idea. Like Alyssa, I'm taking Bio 44 with lab, and then I am also taking Chem 15, which is the second part of the introductory chem sequence. And that also has a lab, but the chem lab is only 2 hours, or 2 hours synchronously, and then you have to do labs in between the chem section meetings. So that lab can add up if you don't know what you're doing for the labs, which has happened to me before, not gonna lie. But yeah, I think it's so interesting to me to compare those two classes because the chem faculty took this on completely differently than the bio faculty, just in the way that all of the chem professors work together. So all of their lectures are asynchronous and they pre-record them, and you get lectures from all of the chemistry faculty who are teaching Chem 15 instead of just your professor, which I believe that's what all of the bio profs are doing. Is that what yours does, Alyssa?
Honestly, that sounds more like how Core 1 was. But
yeah.
No, I think we just have lecture, like we have our normal hours for whatever like biology class that you're taking with whoever you're taking it with. I think they like lay it out differently, but for me, I have Professor Monroy, and she just like lectured pretty much the entire time with the PowerPoint, and then we have like small group time like in breakout rooms and stuff, but for the most part it's just her lecturing. So I think and that's about it, I think.
Yeah, that's also what mine is. I have Professor Gilman, who is amazing, and she lectures for about half the class, and then the other half we go into breakout rooms. But I was wondering if your breakout rooms are the same each time if you get an assigned group, or do they change every time you go into them?
Oh no, they change. They change every single time I think we've touched on this before, but in my bio class, the breakout rooms are almost completely silent. Everybody has their cameras turned off, they're muted. We work on a Google Doc for whatever kind of in-class assignment that we have for that time. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it is a little bit awkward, and it's not the most engaging class, I must admit. So I do prefer my lab class to to my actual lecture class. So we can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, you want to just get into that now? What exactly do you do in lab, Alyssa?
Well, I think this semester was basically cut in two. The beginning, we had, oh my gosh, really gonna have to pull out some memories here. that I know the semester is not that long, but I'm trying to remember the very beginning of it.
It was a while ago.
It feels like a while ago. So we basically, I think we do pre-lab quizzes. I know that that's something that stops at the second half of like the semester, I think. So we did pre-lab quizzes. So for me, I have lab on Thursday, so I would do all my pre-lab stuff on Wednesday, and I'd get that done. I know it's later than yours.
I'm shaking my head because Alyssa had her lab on Thursday, and I had my lab on Friday. I had my lab on Monday. What am I talking about? On my lab on Monday, the pre-lab quizzes were released on Fridays, which meant that I only had 3 days to complete it, whereas Alyssa had a week. Just saying.
Yeah, it's true. But I must admit, did I always use that full time to look at the pre-lab quiz stuff before like Tuesday or Wednesday? Not always, I must admit, but the extra time is appreciated. I think pre-lab quizzes were they weren't too troublesome. I feel like there was like 1 or 2 weeks where I was really frustrated with them, just because it's so hard to kind of take a class for like the first time. Like this is like the first STEM class that I've taken in college, and I didn't really connect with that many students in the beginning of this semester, like being able to talk about the class and our experiences. So that was kind of hard sometimes. But getting back on track, so the semester is cut in two. At the beginning, we did things like pre-lab quizzes. We did ENDs. Oh my gosh, what do those stand for?
Experimental design.
Really? I thought it was something about exploring.
Is it? I honestly don't know what it stood for. It was a research question, though, basically, right?
Yeah.
Come up with a research question based on a different species concept.
And we learned how to do labs online for the first half of the semester. So we used evitaed, which was kind of like a simulation tool. It was actually pretty cool to use at first. It was a little intimidating because it has a lot of like really specific functions, but after a while you kind of get the hang of it. And then the second part of the semester, you kind of work on a final project and like an experiment with your lab group. You are assigned a lab group. For us, I think I was assigned a group for the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester. So right now we're working on our experiment. We'll see how that turns out. By the time that this is out, it will hopefully be done. So congratulations to my lab group for completing that.
Congratulations to every Bio 44 student taking Bio 44. Yeah, Alyssa, you mentioned evitaed. Evitaed is this online platform that's meant to replicate, or I guess it's a computer platform that's meant to replicate bacteria growth. I think it was E. coli that it was supposed to replicate. Just the rapid rate of reproduction that it's able to undergo. And so the first half of lab, you spend time learning about what it is. They have the small organisms that you're able to put onto your board or into your population of on evitaed. Sorry, I keep calling it evitaed. Evitaed.
It's okay. I think both work.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, you can put little organisms and rename the organisms.
They're colorful.
It really, there were some times when you run the experiment for long amounts of time and you can just try and find pictures within your dish. It was fun. And then you can put different sugars in air quotes into the dish and see how the organisms adapt to be able to fit those sugars or be able to get the sugars through different functions that they're able to do. It's an interesting system. Yeah, Alyssa, how's your lab group? I know that was something that we were all worried about going into the semester.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I haven't taken too many classes that are outside of Scripps. I mean, except for Chinese at Pomona. So I think that taking biology was one of the first times, like at least for lab, that you really like have a mixture of people from all the 5Cs. So I really liked my lab groups. Like, I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but for me, I feel like both times that I was put in a lab group, it worked out really, really well. There were like people from, like, I think I had some people from CMC, Pitzer, Scripps. I don't know about Harvey Mudd. I don't remember anybody being from Harvey Mudd, but yeah, so it was a pretty good mixture of people, and it was interesting because at least in high school, I know that working with people of different grades was kind of challenging because there is this weird stigma about people who are like older or younger than you. So I think that lab was kind of the first time where everybody kind of introduced themselves, said what year they are and what school they are from, and nobody really cared. And I thought that was actually pretty refreshing to be able to work with people and just, I don't know, they were all very nice, and I loved working with them. So if they're listening, just know that I really enjoyed working with you guys. Thank you for making 3-hour lab more fun.
Aw, yeah, same to my groups. You had mentioned how Keck is the one place where you can meet people outside of Scripps, and I completely agree with that. I think since Keck is only Claremont McKenna, Pitzer, and Scripps, so honestly, I really only know students from Claremont McKenna, Pitzer, and Scripps because I have not taken any Harvey Mudd classes. I have not taken any Pomona classes. It's really me confined to those 3 Cs.
Well, they are pretty good C's, but we're not going to go over that. But I know that you kind of talked about like taking chemistry and biology at the same time, be able to kind of compare that. So for labs, how was it kind of experiencing both? Was it hard to juggle them? Was it interesting kind of seeing the differences?
Chem labs, I would say I enjoyed more so at the beginning of the semester and the last semester because the chem team actually sent a box of like things you can do at home, so home experiments. And so I enjoy doing those. Recently, we've been doing online experiments through simulation, like what bio is doing. But they're still really fun. I would say generally I understand bio better. So bio is more fun in terms of theory for me. Chemistry is just a lot of math that I am sometimes not in the headspace for when it's Monday. And I'm just like, this is my 4th class. Please don't make it stop. But it's still good. I think chem lab for me is smaller. There's only about 20 people. I actually don't know how many people are in my bio lab, but my chem group is smaller than my bio lab group. And generally, because chem lab is asynchronous for the majority of the pieces and you're just meeting to go over like what you got as results and discussion points, it's not necessarily as much discussion per se. You can check off what you did and just leave, which honestly is nice. And on some days you're just like, I'm done with this. Are you guys done? Yeah, okay, cool, we can go. But yeah, I would say there's the pros and the cons of both. I feel like it really depends on which class or which discipline you prefer. And it's become very obvious to me that bio is the discipline that I prefer. No shade to the chem faculty. They're all amazing and do a great job. I just lean more towards the bio.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to this time where we're about to be rising sophomores. So that means we're going to get an entire new class of freshmen next year, which is very surreal to think about. But for you now being an expert, basically, on taking STEM classes,
say that, but I appreciate
at least online, you're kind of an expert for taking STEM classes now. I mean, I think you've earned that honor.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Of course. But what would you kind of give as advice, since we're kind of leaning towards wanting to kind of let the incoming freshmen know how classes are like? What would you tell to them about kind of balancing STEM classes and taking them?
I think one of the things that students going into Keck for the first time struggle with is realizing that there are classes that are going to be really hard, harder than classes you've taken at high school. And I know that you think that you understand that your high school teachers will tell you that your college classes are going to be harder, and they really are. I am currently taking Chem 15, and that class is really more difficult than Chem 14 was for me, and it's still a basic introductory class. And so I think the biggest thing is just to remind yourself that, hey, your grade doesn't tell you how amazing of a person you are. There are going to be classes that are difficult, yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't get through them. And honestly, you'll feel great when you're done and you pass the class and you're like, oh my goodness. It's also a great bonding experience, really. I have bonded with so many people in my chemistry class because we struggle through the material together. And also utilize your professors during office hours. Shout out to Professor Purvis Roberts. I took her lab class for Chem 14, and she's now my lecture professor, and she is so kind and understanding. I go to her and talk to her about areas that I'm struggling in class, areas outside of class as well. I've gone to her and asked her about study suggestions, how to do better on tests. The professors really are there to help you, and they're going to do what they can if you go and utilize them as resources. I think the last thing that I would say in terms of advice is to really keep an open mindset when you're going through these introductory classes if you know that you want to become a STEM major. Or even if you don't know you want to become a STEM major, all Scripps students are required to take a natural science GE class, and so you have to take, I believe you could take bio or chem. I think geology also meets that requirement. There are a lot of different Keck classes that you can take. But really keep an open mind. You may find that there's a discipline that speaks to you. I know, we already touched on this. Chemistry is not necessarily my discipline, but I'm really enjoying my biology class. I think I will definitely want to be taking more of those in the future just to meet both my major requirement as well as any electives that I'm able to take. I think those classes will be really interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, and scheduling. I mean, we're going to be on campus next semester, right? So scheduling and thinking about the time between classes is even more important. So unfortunately for incoming freshmen, I don't think you can have them as back-to-back as we did when we were online completely. But, there's very pros and cons.
What else about STEM? Did you hear that the Keck building is under construction right now?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I heard about that a while ago. But wasn't there some kind of construction that wasn't going to happen for, we can't use it? Mm-hmm. It's not going to be during our time. Was that the construction?
I think so.
Or something else?
Yeah, it's going to be open for the last semester of our senior year. So if you want to be in one of the labs, you gotta be a TA, or you're gonna take a lab class really late in your college career.
Wow, I don't know. It's I don't now that we're rising sophomores. I feel like choosing classes has to have more of a direction. Honestly. And it's freaking me out a little bit because that means I have to plan for if I want to study abroad, I have to make sure that I can get done a lot of classes before that I got to get done before. And then we're going to be doing theses. That's the plural of thesis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you, English major.
We're going to be doing theses in our senior year, so we kind of have to prepare for that and think about what that's going to be like. I don't know. Future Alyssa, she's got a lot on her plate.
In 2 years, when you're a junior, you're going to look back, junior going on senior, you're going to look back at this and be like, old Alyssa. I guess not old, young Alyssa. Look at you now.
I know. whenever I look back, I'm like, ugh, why were you so stressed? You had it easy. But then that's going to be me for the rest of my life. So really, theoretically, I should never be as stressed as I am. Right?
Well, that's a good point. But sometimes you just gotta feel the stress in order to motivate you to do
Yeah.
what you gotta do.
Yeah, it's so weird to stress about classes though, is because I will have, like, for some reason, sometimes the assignments aren't even that hard, but there's certain assignments where it's just so hard to start. So I don't like I'm just staring at it for a while and then it stresses me out. And then if I like stand up and do something else, I'm like still stressed because I'm thinking about it. But then I'm like, why am I not doing it? But then I sit down and try to do it and I just can't.
Honestly, though, that's like me with my core paper right now. I've
Oh,
been
yeah,
trying
no.
to get that done for a week straight, and I literally
do?
have done nothing. I started writing the first draft. I met with a writing tutor twice, and both times she was like, Ellen, just start writing. I was like, okay, I'll go start writing after this.
That's
And then
me
I
with my English paper.
The wonderful world of essay writing.
I know, in final papers too, where my paper has to be like 10 pages.
Oh my goodness. Is it double spaced though? Hopefully.
Yeah, it's double spaced.
Okay,
so
that's
it's
if it
like
was-
5-6 pages, really, if you really think about it. But hey, it's still a lot.
That's still a lot. That's crazy. I believe in you. Do you know what you're gonna write about? No?
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, Professor Practice, do not be listening to this. I have like ideas, but I really need to meet with her. But because she's my academic advisor and my English professor, it's hard to meet with her about two different things in like the same week because she has such limited time because so many people want to meet with her. So I still need to meet with her. Oh, I remember I wanted to tell you about this. I mean, we can include it in the podcast too. But
Okay, yeah.
remember how we were talking about like admitted students?
Yes.
Apparently next week, so the week of, what is this? What's next week? The week of April 19th, I might have admitted students in my English class.
Wow.
I know, I'm so excited.
Wow.
I don't know.
What are you going to tell them if they ask you what's the greatest thing about being at Scripps? Or what's it like to be at Scripps, I guess is probably what they're...
I don't know. I need to think about some really great advice. Honestly, my class does not go into breakout rooms too much, which is a little sad in this case because then I can't talk to them as much. I don't know why I'm so excited. When I was in high school, I really did not like people in the class below me for some reason. Like my class had a grudge against the class right below us. And now I'm just super excited and I just want to talk to them and meet them.
Now that you're a college student, you're like,
Maturity?
this is great.
Question mark?
Go, Alyssa. I'm so proud of you. Look
Just
at
kidding,
you.
I have no
the
idea.
character growth.
Maybe I'm just people deprived.
That could be it. Not gonna lie, that could be it. But on the bright side, we will be on campus in the fall, and then you won't be people deprived. Or maybe you will
know.
still be because
That's
we're
true.
going to be separated. But we will be in the same place physically instead of...
I know, and who knows if we're roommates? We'll see.
Then we have to be in the same place. You will be required to spend time.
Oh, we can have like arguments about stupid things. That's how you bond with people. I've learned that if you don't like have any arguments with your friends ever, it's a little dangerous to me, at least.
That is
Like,
a very good point.
I don't like conflict that much, so I'm not saying get into arguments and conflicts with your friends, but some of my closest friends are because we've had like conflicts that we've worked through.
That's good to know. So if we are roommates, you want me to just start fights with you? Pick fights?
I mean, if
Like,
that's what you need, if that's what you need, you go for it. I'm a resource for you. It's fine.
Oh my goodness. I'm so ready to be roommates with you.
I know. Pro tip.
Hey everyone, it's Ellen. I'm currently editing this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And as Alyssa is going to say right now,
you guys should totally follow our Instagram at 2024 Our Story Podcast to stay updated on episodes and to look at our follow-ups. They vary a lot, but they're pretty cool if I do say so myself.
Alyssa is great at designing them. They're very
Thank you.
nice and very useful. So
Yeah, and be sure to check back next week for our final episode of Season 1. We will be wrapping up our recording sessions in a virtual environment, and hopefully we'll be back for Season 2 next semester, the fall of 2021, to bring you guys some more content around being at Scripps, being back in person, and that's strange, or who knows what that transition is going to be like. But we'll go into a little bit more of that next episode. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.